International question! International question! International question! Anonymous, USA.
Anonymous for the purposes of this pod is very interesting.
Well, yeah, they have an identity in real life. They just don't want us to reveal it on the pod. Okay. Dear Allison and Gabby, thank you so much for this podcast. It's been so helpful to hear your perspectives on life and mental health topics and has helped me to have a more balanced approach to my life. And Allison, I've had my local library pre-order your book. Can't wait to read it.
Oh, that's lovely.
I know. TLDR, how can I be sure of my decisions when my perspective on them changes drastically every few months?
Oh, you are speaking my language.
I'm a 25-year-old woman in a 4.5-year relationship with my boyfriend, 25 and male. In many ways, we have a wonderful life together. He's my best friend and we love each other a lot. We also live together and cohabitating works really well for us. It is by far the best living situation I've ever had. However, our relationship feels very platonic and has for several years. I have a much higher sex drive than he does, which used to cause a lot of conflict. But now I'm pretty resigned to our sex maybe once a month routine. He has turned me down so many times that I've stopped initiating and have largely stopped seeing him as a sexual option. So much so that when he does initiate, I'm not really into it. This is the one admittedly big flaw in the otherwise great relationship. I go back and forth on breaking up with him, and this is really the crux of the issue. When I'm in a phase where I think we should break up, I feel pretty certain about it. I am currently in one of those phases, which I'm sure is affecting the way I write this email. But then I sit with my emotions for a couple weeks, and I inevitably pass out of that phase and into one where I see all the positives in our relationship. I no longer want to break up, and I feel really relieved that I didn't do it. When I'm in the one phase or the other, it is difficult for me to connect with the emotions, logic, reasons that go along with the other. I.e., when I'm thinking about ending it, I see only the negatives, and my reasons for staying seem entirely fear-based and short-sighted. I've been cycling between these phases seriously for maybe a year/year and a half. The phases in which I feel good about the relationship last significantly longer on average than the ones where I feel negatively. But then again, since I keep returning to negative feelings, maybe that means they'll never go away. How do I make a decision and feel confident in it when my perspective on my situation flip-flops so drastically and reliably? I feel like I can't identify my true feelings on the topic and that I can't trust my emotions or inner narrative since it never settles in either camp permanently. I would love your input on this. Thanks for all you do and keep up the great work.
Here's my question, Allison. Do you think that if you're with someone and you've ever thought of breaking up, the relationship is doomed?
Not at all.
Yeah, I feel like I've thought about breaking up with almost everyone I've been with in a way that like then passes. Or like for me, like it really depends on if that feeling lasts long enough that I almost can't keep it in. Like the times that I've broken up with someone have been times where I've had that feeling, but I feel like a overwhelming need to vocalize it. And also sometimes with people that I'm dating, like there's been times where I've been like, should we break up? Like, it's not like a one-sided decision. Like, it's something where you talk to the person and maybe things change or maybe it passes or, you know, and it hurts my feelings when someone does it to me and maybe it hurts their feelings when I, you know, do it to them. But oftentimes I've had a lot of success being like, how do you think this is going? Like, do you think we should stay together? And then like having an actual conversation about it.
Have you and Mal ever had that conversation?
Yeah. And I don't think that I don't think that says anything about our relationship. I don't think that says anything about our desire to be together. I don't think that says anything about how much we love each other. I think we go through phases where we're more into each other than other phases. And Mal, you know, will sometimes be like, I felt annoyed with you today. Should we break up? And I'm like, do you want to break up? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, then you felt annoyed with me today. I get it. Like, what's nice is being able to have a discussion about it without being like, this is what's happening right now. And when I say break up, it's kind of like this nebulous thing of like, if we're mad at each other, I'm like, it's over. Or if I, you know, feel bored or something. But like, I generally have the opinion that those feelings exist and then pass. And Mal gets really worried about it. And they'll be like, I have this feeling today. And I'll be like, well, do you think it'll pass? And they're like, yeah, definitely. And I'm like, okay. Like, I feel like you don't want to be together all the time.
Yeah, I think it's two things. One is like normalizing that sometimes we do feel differently about our partners and sometimes we do question the relationship. But I also think in this example, there is a pretty clear area of your relationship that is not working for you. And
Right.
so I think you're sort of in this approach of like, well, I either have to take this relationship as it is right now, or I have to leave the relationship. But there is a third option, which is addressing your sexual relationship with your partner and like seeing if you can get that to a place that is healthier and more fulfilling for you. And then it's not like abandoning this person, it's creating a new relationship with them that is better for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think too, like, you're thinking of these things as something you are going through by yourself. Oftentimes when I've talked to people, I've been like, are you happy? And like, I'm not taking into account that this other person is having experiences too. That maybe there's something that we can talk about and discuss and work through. And it doesn't have to be my decision one way or the other. And like you said, like, not even if your problem, like in general, let's say for this listener, it's sex drives, but in general, if you and your partner, if something is bumping for you, it's maybe bumping for them too.
And like, just because we've gone into a pattern with our partner doesn't mean that we can't break that pattern. We can't shake things up. We can't like, you know, you're constantly sort of like reforming relationships and redefining relationships. And so of course, if that's not happening and you feel stuck and you feel stagnant and the way that it isn't working for you in the first place, then that is like going to weigh on you. But I would really give yourself the opportunity to work on this area of your relationship. And I think
Together.
working together, yeah. But I think that the process of working on it will reveal a lot about the relationship and whether or not you want to stay, right? Because if you go to your partner and you say, hey, I think that our sex life isn't really working and I feel more platonic towards you and I feel like we've maybe lost this intimate sexual connection with each other, maybe even romantic connection with each other, I would really like to put in the work for us to reignite that and for that to be a bigger part of our relationship moving forward. And if they say, no way, right? Then that's tricky, right? Because then the only relationship that you have is the one you're in. And then it is a really hard thing of like, is this enough for me? But give them the opportunity to work with you and to create a new relationship that might work even better, you know? And it's probably going to be multiple conversations. It is a really touchy topic to bring up with somebody, but I think that you owe it to this partner. I think you owe it to yourself. I think you owe it to the years that you've spent together primarily happy to not just accept the status quo and instead really put in the work to improve your relationship.
Yeah. And Mal and I have been together about 3 years. And Mal is very good at being like, we need to have romance. Like, we live together. They're my best friend. Like, things can get really, we're just hanging out and we're having a good time. And like, we hang out all the time.
Just between us.